All right, we are live. Welcome back to Alumni Spotlight, the show dedicated to sharing amazing recovery stories from the SCC, South Coast Counseling and Beginnings Treatment alumni. My name is Austin Armstrong. I'm the guest host today, and the guest today is the normal host, Andrea Weins, but today the spotlight is on her.
Yes, for sure. Hi,
so, everyone. Andi, introduce yourself to all of the amazing watchers.
I'm Andi, and I'm normally the host, even though I've only hosted the show one time.
We have swapped seats.
Of Alumni Spotlight, and I'm coming down with a cold right now. But, y'all are going to hear my story, and Austin's going to interview me today, so it should be good.
I'm very excited to hear it. I hope you are too. Please feel free to show your support. Leave any questions, comments, thoughts that you might have, and we'll jump in. It looks like Pej, hi! Thanks for tuning in, Pej. You know the deal. Share this video. So, Andi, how long have you been sober now? And if you don't mind sharing, what was your drug of choice?
Okay, my drug of choice was heroin, and I've been sober almost 5 years. I'll have 5 years January 12th of 2018, so my sobriety date's January 12th, 2014.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I want to kind of take a look in the rearview mirror, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from?
I'm from Texas.
Okay. Tell me about your childhood.
Well, I'm from Coppell, Texas, which you probably never heard of that if you're watching from California, but Texas is awesome. I'm just a Cali girl, was born and raised should have been born in California. I always kind of felt that about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody always dressed really preppy, and I was kind of more different, and so I just feel like I belong in California. But so my childhood, my parents got divorced when I was 2, and I don't even really know anything with them being together at all. Mm-hmm. But my mom's a flight attendant, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents when I was growing up, and I saw my dad once a week until I was 15, and then I lived with him for 3 years. So, my family's not, there was dysfunction, 100%. Sure. Alcoholism runs my family, and I definitely got that gene, and, generations would pass, and it would be someone's an alcoholic, someone's not, and you never knew who was going to get it.
Yeah.
And so I happen to be one of those. But yeah, I mean, nothing too crazy as a kid, but definitely experienced a lot of, thinking that everybody else's life was perfect and everybody else had the white picket fence, and then behind closed doors in my family, fighting and just a bunch of things that were dysfunctional. And, I just thought that no one else's life was like that. So
it kind of seems even more emphasized this way today with social media. You look at anyone's Instagram feed or Facebook, it's only the highlights. Everyone's life appears to be perfect, but nobody knows what isn't posted online.
Totally, 100%, I agree. And I compare myself to people's picture perfect still, but that was a pattern that was even from childhood. It's not even necessarily learned. I feel like it's inherent within us to just be point the finger and look at everyone else and think that their life's perfect, Yeah.
So if you can, maybe there's a specific story, a specific moment. When did drugs and alcohol first start to play a role?
When I was in 8th grade, I was 13 years old. I got the opportunity to drink for the first time, and I didn't even think twice about it. I was like, of course I'm going to drink. And when we would do DARE go through the DARE class in school, I was kind of like, that looks good, that looks fun. And it I didn't have any, nothing was holding me back. I was just sure. And nobody really was teaching me not to do certain things or to do certain things, so I had a lot of freedom as a kid. So yeah, drank with my girlfriends in 8th grade and then some juniors in high school. So we were like, oh my gosh. And that like kicked it off automatically of like, this is fun. Like, when can we do this again? And then I just automatically, things just started. I mean, I started doing ecstasy when I was like 14 and started like doing that hardcore for a year. And that's a pretty young age personally to start doing that.
Were you using it at parties, just recreationally?
Yeah, anytime. Like once we found that, it was like me and my friend alone, or we could be with people, which obviously we'd prefer to do that. But weeknights, like school nights, like it kind of was crazy. Yeah.
So you mentioned your drug of choice was heroin. How did you first get introduced to heroin? How did it spiral from having fun with ecstasy and alcohol into getting into harder drugs?
So ever since I found that, substances, I was definitely off to the races from that point forward, and really was like, drinking a ton and taking Xanax, smoking weed, but then as far as going into those, opiates, which is what I found later, that didn't, I don't think I even really dabbled in that, and then that didn't come about until I went off to college. So there was a period in between that when I was 17 when I kind of like was feeling empty inside because I was doing these drugs and I was still feeling like, what the heck, is this all there is? And I started like, going to church, and then I had like an encounter with my higher power, with God, and that kind of altered my course, but I was still both worlds. So church over here, and then drinking on the weekends over here, and trying to mix those two worlds. So then when I went off to college and things didn't really start going my way, I was kind of in self-will a little bit, wanted to go to this college even though it was more expensive. Last minute signed up for a sorority, didn't get in. My sorority, or my dorm room, the girls I landed with like weren't the best type of people. So I used all this as an excuse, and then a guy in my art class ended up having some hydrocodones, and I could just pop 2 of those and just be set for life. I was like, I could do this forever. And that's what it started, and then it eventually snowballed. Part of it was like wanting to be accepted. The other part was like, it felt good, and just all that combined, it definitely, I didn't want to grow up, face responsibility, so all that combined, it was just a segue into me, hanging out with my friends, and then like seeing where they got their stuff from, and then like sneaking downstairs when the dealer was leaving, and being like, hey, what's up? And then that ended up leading me into deeper weirdness of like, who are these people? People who were like not taking care of their kids, like CPS was on their case, like neglect, and just people I should not have been hanging out with, but I was, so that I could get the drugs.
Was there a particular moment of realization that you thought, it's out of my control? Or was it all of these things accumulatively that you knew you needed to make a change?
I used to tell myself, like, I'm not going to do heroin today. And then I would, like, at around noon, I would, like, trick myself into thinking, like, it's still a choice, but I'm going to choose to do it. And so I would trick myself into thinking that it was always a choice. But at the same time, I didn't really... There's another flip side to that coin that's like, I knew, because I eventually ended up stopping, right? And I knew that I could have that choice to stop if I had really sincerely wanted it, surrendered, and asked God for the help and all that. But I didn't want to stop, so it wasn't really a thought of like, can I control this or not? It was just like, we're going for it, Yeah.
When you first sought recovery, was it, how many times did you have to go through a program? Was it one and it clicked?
No. The first time I went through a program, I had been like doing a bunch of bad stuff to where I was on the verge of mixing all this crazy stuff. So that actually helped me because it got me away from the substances for long enough to where I was like safe and gonna live, but I was still obsessing the entire time in my 30-day program. So then I had to go back to that same program. So I went to the program, left for 6 months, went and just relapsed, then went back and was a little more willing, but was still super kind of lost, and was still old behavior and relapsing and all that. So I had to go from that treatment center to then hopping around to 3 or 4 other sober livings before finally getting it. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you obviously an alumni of South Coast Counseling and Beginnings Treatment Centers. What was different about them? What clicked?
So once I was gotten kicked, I was in the Costa Mesa area at this point, and I went to treatment all out in California, and I had gotten kicked out of, one treatment center for, falsely representing another person's drug test. I'll just put it that way. And among other things, there was a bunch of different old behaviors. So after getting kicked out of my 4th sober living, I was in a hotel room, Sandpiper Travel Lodge. If you know the area, you know the whole gamut pretty much, and was with this other person who had gotten kicked out. Had that option, or had my option of my guy I met off Craigslist. So I was backed into a corner by my circumstances, this sucks, or I'll have to go back to Texas. And then I looked in the mirror at myself, hated who I saw, hated who I'd become, had no clue what the next move was. So all this, started causing me to reflect in my heart and really assessing the situation, being what am I going to do? So, I prayed for God. Forgot God even existed at this point. I'm over here with a bunch of, that wasn't on my radar at all, but because of the situation I was in, foxhole prayers type thing, but I had God's in my past. So anyways, I ended up coming to this place where I was help me surrender. I'm still unwilling, even though all this sucks. And then I was given, not even 24 hours later, a fork in the road, tangible moment in time where I was I have a choice right now to choose to change my path wholeheartedly, or to keep going down into jails, institutions, and death. And once I was given the strength by my higher power, I believe, to make that choice, thy will, not mine, be done in that moment. And then that's, through a certain set of circumstances within the days to come after that, I found and landed at South Coast Counseling Beginnings Treatment, which I think that attests to our program, is that's where I was placed. That's where I ended up once I was done running the game and kind of not taking it seriously. Because prior to that, I was landing in all these shoddy places that I was embarrassed to I didn't want to tell anyone that it was just not legit, pretty much. Yeah.
Gotcha. So spirituality is obviously a big factor in your life. Can you expand a little bit more about your spirituality and how other programs like AA help you maintain your sobriety?
For sure. So whenever I was in early sobriety, after this point, I ended up thinking that I didn't need AA, and it was just kind of my addiction and my head telling me you don't need that, you can just do church. So I tried that out, and I ended up getting super miserable, and this happened on multiple separate occasions to where I finally realized I need AA. And so it was proven to me time and time again that my higher power personally, church, yes, 100%, love it. However, also I need Alcoholics Anonymous, and I find a fellowship there, and I find the support I need with other people who know what is going on and can relate, and I get the opportunity to help others. And it's just a great thing I wouldn't want to miss out on if I was sober. It gives me purpose, and I don't work a perfect program, but I'm always growing in that, and actually being a part of the alumni coordinator and all that with this facility now, same facility, obviously, that I've been associated with for the last almost 5 years. It's really helped my program, honestly, because it holds me accountable, because I have other people I'm trying to get involved too. Yeah.
I love it. If there was someone watching this video or listening to this right now or in the future, whether it be their first time seeking treatment or it hasn't worked for them in the past, what are some things that you've learned that you can offer as advice to help the individual?
Wow. That's like a deep one. I think a lot of what held me back from changing in the past was fear of what other people would think. And it's honestly like, if you really think about it, I had no one. So why was I so afraid of what other people would think, or this projected mindset of, if I change everything, I'm going to be like just a different person. I'm not going to like the person I am going to become. I'm going to become a square. And it's not true. Like, I become the best version of myself when I'm sober.
Absolutely.
And I think that all these things we believe in our heads that hold us back from getting sober are all lies. And we have to really, getting away from the substances for long enough will hopefully give someone's mind enough clarity to realize some of these false belief systems that will help them break out of, and to realize that they really do want to be sober. The real them wants it, but it's just gotten so dimmed down by all the darkness over time.
Yeah,
so.
Negative self-talk is it just eats us up.
Yeah.
Even aside from drugs and alcohol, sometimes mental health issues and different things in our lives, the negative self-talk just puts us down and says, no, we can't do that.
Yeah, 100%. I know.
So let's lighten this up a little bit. We got real deep and dark there for a minute. What do you have going on now?
Wow. Well, now, like, we were just to darken it a little more. I'm just kidding. No. It is sometimes those limiting beliefs, like, it's hard to move past where I'm at, or I can't become successful, or whatever the case is. And that's not true, because it is about altering our thought process and realizing, no, like, look, people every day are doing things that they'd love to do. And I think that that's something that just today that I've been like dealing with, and realizing that no, things are possible, and look at how far I've come, and I can look positively towards the future. I've been working for South Coast for 3 years now, and I'm going back to school, which I never thought was going to be, it's an awesome opportunity, and I'm going for free, which is even better.
That's great.
I'm studying studio art, and that's my passion, so just going to go for it. And I'm taking a jewelry class this semester, took a ceramics class last semester, and I just love, working towards a goal in that respect. And it's just personal growth and development, hardcore. I'm definitely all about, new opportunities, and keeping everything open to see if any, just to work on myself and to grow my own, myself, and keep just opportunities open in that respect. Mm-hmm.
Encompassing this whole story, from your early childhood, being predisposed to drugs and alcohol, to going through this program, to coming out the other end successfully, do you have a single greatest accomplishment in your eyes of yourself?
Wow. Staying sober, honestly, like those 5 years, and it has not always been easy, but it's totally been worth it. And I definitely feel myself, walking into the promises, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but it's like slowly for me, and sometimes it happens quickly for other people. But what was the question?
What is your favorite accomplishment in your life, in your opinion?
Yeah, staying sober, 100%, greatest accomplishment. And then I want to help other people too. But that's, yeah.
That's great. Do you have any final thoughts or final things that you'd like to add for yourself, put it out there, or for anyone that's watching?
No, I mean, I just, if anyone out there is struggling, I really just hope that you realize that there is life on the other side of your addiction and that sobriety is possible and that there's nothing to be afraid of, but that, you know, whatever these big fears are or things standing in the way, that there's nothing that you can't conquer with the help of your higher power. And I just, welcome you to reach out to us if you are struggling in any way at all.
That's amazing. Yeah. Andi, thank you so much.
Thanks,
It was
Austin.
An absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this, found it relatable, and like she said, if you were struggling, if you have a loved one that's struggling, please feel free to reach out if you found the story relatable and want some expert insight. Until next time, see you soon, friends.